Okay, I'll do that right away. Thanks, goodbye. What a Nimrod. Oh, sorry, it's you. Just ignore that. I was talking with my boss. And you might think that I was being totally disrespectful calling him a Nimrod. In fact, you might even be tempted to anonymously send him the URL for this video so that he'll hear me saying that and I'll get in trouble. But before you do that, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to explain why Nimrod does not really mean whatever you think it means. No, you see, it's actually a term of admiration and respect. If you don't believe me, then just stick around as Professor Wiseguy explains it all. Now, if you've ever heard someone called a Nimrod, what do you think it means? I think most people see this word as a sort of generic, multi-purpose insult. It basically means the same as fool, except that Nimrod is just an inherently funnier word. I'd put it into the same category as doofus or brainiac. Does that sound reasonable? I suppose we could look it up in the dictionary, and when I check into dictionary.com, I found Nimrod defined as a foolish or inept person. A doofus. There it is, doofus. And I didn't look that up first. The Oxford English Dictionary identifies Nimrod as North American slang, meaning a stupid or contemptible person, an idiot. Personally, I like doofus better. Well, Nimrod is a useful insult, and not just because it sounds funny. I say this because this word isn't vulgar in any way. Most people aren't going to punch you in the nose if you call them Nimrod. It's humorous and kind of good-natured. I mean, nobody wants to be a Nimrod, but I can think of a lot worse things to be called. If you're a word nerd like me, you might wonder how this handy insult came into our language. Is it perhaps derived from some obscure Greek or Latin word meaning big fat dum-dum? No, it's not. We have one person to thank for the insult Nimrod and its existence in English. Well, actually, it's not a person, it's Bugs Bunny. Yeah, that Bugs Bunny. The star of Warner Brothers cartoons and the nemesis of one Elmer J. Fudd. You know, the guy who said, "Be very, very quiet. We're hunting wabbits." Elmer was often portrayed as a hunter, and frankly, he was a pretty pathetic, ridiculous hunter. It was with Elmer Fudd, the hunter, that Bugs dragged this word Nimrod into our consciousness. Elmer might tell Bugs that he was a hunter and this was rabbit season. He would have said wabbit. Then Bugs would respond by saying something along the lines of, "Ah, that's great, Nimrod." Was Bugs just calling Elmer a stupid or contemptible person? Did he mean that Elmer was a doofus? Not exactly. And what does the Oxford English Dictionary present as the first definition of Nimrod? Well, the first entry is shown as obsolete. A tyrannical ruler, a tyrant. If you look there, you'll see that the latest example the OED presents is from 1689. So yeah, obsolete. But the second definition is a great or skillful hunter. The examples for that usage range from 1623 to 1994. And why would Nimrod refer to hunters and hunting? Well, for that, we have to go back a little bit before Bugs Bunny, all the way back to the biblical book of Genesis. In Genesis chapter 10, starting in verse 8, we learn that Nimrod was the great-grandson of Noah. It tells us that Nimrod, quote, began to be powerful in the land. He was a powerful hunter in the sight of the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a powerful hunter in the sight of the Lord. His kingdom started with Babylon. It goes on to tell us that Nimrod also established Nineveh, the great Assyrian city. So, the Nimrod of the Bible founded the capital cities of two great empires, and he was a mighty hunter. Do we now understand how these first two definitions from the OED, a tyrant and a great hunter, came about? I guess we do. So why did Bugs Bunny use the word to mean doofus when he was talking to Elmer Fudd? Well, he didn't. No, when Bugs says, "Way to go, Nimrod," he was referring to the hunter meaning. Imagine this. You watch me playing basketball to the best of my ability. And just to be clear, the best of my ability is pretty feeble. As you see me put up my 13th air ball, you say, "Looking good, LeBron." You're being sarcastic, right? My basketball chops are about as far from LeBron James as can be imagined. Bugs Bunny was likewise mocking Elmer Fudd when he called him Nimrod, because Elmer was a long way from a mighty hunter. Bugs was mocking, but he wasn't calling Elmer a doofus or stupid. Do you believe me? Well, now don't commit to it just yet. You might recall that my favorite dictionary, the OED, not only gives definitions, but illustrates every one of them with historical usages of the word. So what about this North American slang meaning for Nimrod? There are 4 examples provided from 2002, 1988, 1963, and 1933. But Bugs Bunny didn't start hopping across movie screens until 1938 at the earliest. So if I'm right and this whole Nimrod doofus thing can be laid at the feet of Bugs, then what do we make of that 1933 example? Well, let's look at it. The Great Magoo was, according to the fount of all knowledge Wikipedia, an unsuccessful Broadway play. In that play, somebody says, quote, "He's in love with her. That makes about the 10th. The same old Nimrod won't let her alone for a second." Apparently, the character in question is always chasing women. Is he a fool, a doofus, a Bugs Bunny-style Nimrod? Well, I don't think so. I think the OAD got this wrong. Whoever the character is calling the same old Nimrod will not stop pursuing his latest romantic attraction. Does that make him a doofus? No, but it could make him sort of a hunter. Having waved aside this example of the word from 1933, we can, with a clear conscience, credit Bugs Bunny with creating this new meaning of Nimrod. Of course, Bugs, or whoever wrote his lines, didn't mean to create a new meaning. Instead, we should credit all of the people who heard Bugs call Elmer a Nimrod and then said, "Nimrod, that's a good one. I'm going to stop using big fat dum-dum and start calling people Nimrod." Like most changes in language, the fault is not in our stars. You know, stars like Bugs Bunny, but in ourselves. Just like people picked up lines from Shakespeare, like that one, and then they use them, people pick up words and phrases and grammatical constructions and change the language. So you tell me, was I referring to my boss as a fool, a doofus, a Nimrod? Perish the thought. I see him as a mighty hunter, chasing down knowledge and education. Really, Larry, that's what I meant. Okay, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So I'm going to stop digging. You can put your comments down below, digging farther, or get out of here.